you ask these people, oh, so this person had a stroke. Well, when did you take them to the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they're like, well, we never took them to the doctor.
Right.
So education is just huge in these countries, just simple education. And that's what Ultimate Mission is all about. I mean, the health workers are not doctors going into the community and prescribing things, right?
Right. Yeah.
They are out there trying to help people with their health. Preventatives is our job, and also helping people recognize when there is a problem and when they need to go to the doctor.
Right. The healthcare professionals are very busy people, and so we can't always get them, the same ones, to go every time. So we're always getting new ones, and what we've done is try to set up a template so that we have a basic foundation of PowerPoints and examples of what our 35 classes are, because that's what it is for the initial, what we call it, the initial training is 35 classes. Hey, you are on the Christian Life Empowerment Podcast with Aaron Rittenour today, and Jim Reynolds, of course. And today we are at the Gospel Outreach Studio in Walla Walla. So I've traveled to Walla Walla. So right now we're doing this on camera, as well as, so hello everybody, as well as just a regular audio podcast. So if you're on the audio podcast right now and you really have to see me, you can go to camera. And if you don't want to see Aaron and I, you can go to the audio. So they're have it either way. But we're here right now because I came up to film some videos with Aaron. So Aaron, you work here for Gospel Outreach and Ultimate Mission. So how are you liking living in Walla Walla? You've been here for a little while, right?
Yeah, we have been here for about 8 months. I love it here. We do miss the mountains in Montana though, but it's been really nice. The weather here has been quite not like Walla Walla. I mean, not like Montana,
You were saying something about it wasn't 15 below when you got up this morning. So
right. Every day I put a really heavy jacket on. I walk out the door and then I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't need the heavy jacket.
Oh yeah. Now I haven't been to Montana, but my son was there and he was talking about 30 below and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't need that 30 below.
At a certain temperature, it's just all the same. It's just cold.
Yeah. Very cold. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it colder better than hotter, but you know what? That's why I like the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, not that cold.
Yeah, not that hot. So for the most part, so you're good. Yeah. So we're here in Walla Walla right now, and the reason we're here is because Aaron and I was supposed to go to Ethiopia in November, and that just got trashed. I mean, it was my first time to Africa. You've been to Africa before, right?
Yeah, a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and for those of you that don't know, Aaron does the filming for Ultimate Mission. So he helps me with the podcast. He helps with all the video work we do. We've been together in India probably 3 times. And so Aaron flies around the world with me, and we have a great time. We have a lot of adventures.
Yep.
And so we were supposed to go to Ethiopia. And we were going through all of the turmoil with COVID and all the restrictions, and it's a moving target trying to travel anywhere right now. It's just ridiculous. And so we were going to go to Ethiopia, and we'd figured out all the COVID restrictions and what we had to do to get there. And then, they had a civil war. And so the Civil War was going on, but it was way up north, and we were like, all right, it'll be okay. We were going to do some traveling in Ethiopia. Then the Civil War got hotter, so we decided, okay, we're going to stay in Addis Ababa. And then like 3 days before we were ready to go, all of a sudden I'm getting these nasty emails from the State Department saying, get out of Ethiopia, right? And it's like, yeah, well, I'm not there yet, but probably a good indication that I shouldn't go.
Yeah, we decided the day before not to go to Ethiopia, didn't we?
I believe it was the day before.
Yep.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, it's still a mess over there. I've been watching the news, and it's still a mess in Ethiopia. But so what we were going to do is, so for those of you that don't know, one of the things that we do with Ultimate Mission is we take medical teams to third world countries, and we train Bible worker wives, pastors' wives, to do medical missionary work. So that way they can work with their husband alongside of their husband and go house to house and be kind of the felt needs part of the ministry. which is really cool because a lot of these homes, these Bible workers and these pastors, they can't get into. The Muslims, the Hindus, the people, with no religion or whatever, they just don't want anything to do with these Christian pastors. But when they have a wife that has a stethoscope around her neck and she's there to help, and she's there to help their children and their parents and them when they're, they're suffering with really bad diabetes or all kinds of stuff. And so when he has his wife there that is a health worker, he can get almost every door. So we've been running this training, and we have, I think about 190 women now that we have sponsored that we stipend and that work every month. So we were going to do that in Ethiopia. Now, were you anxious to be in Ethiopia and do some filming there as a photographer?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was excited to go visit another country, and so I've never been to Ethiopia before. But
okay.
I really think we made the right call because it seems like Ethiopia deals with unrest every 15, 20 years. And I know a lady. I had her on my podcast. She was a missionary in Ethiopia in the late 90s, and her husband was gunned down, and her maid was gunned down in a vehicle. Her whole family was in the vehicle, and her child almost died as well, if I remember correctly. So these situations can become quite serious, and for us as foreigners to be driving around in a vehicle around Ethiopia and around Addis Ababa, probably not a great idea during this time. And you and I, we would love to just go anyway, regardless of the unrest. I know that we're not too worried about it, but to expect the women to be traveling from where they live to Addis for the training, and then also expecting, the docs that are going over to Ethiopia with us to go over there during this time.
Some of
unrest.
them female.
Yeah.
And rape is a big, that's a big thing going on right now. I was reading one report where there were over 1,000 women that had reported rape, right?
Oh my.
Over 1,000. And those were being raped by the government officials or the government military.
This was in Ethiopia.
So these were the good guys, right? Supposedly the good guys that were doing. And so if 1,000 women in Ethiopia reported it, how many women are not reporting it? Because in that country and in some of these countries like that, these women aren't going to report this stuff, especially about military officials. And it's got to be 10, 20 times that.
Yeah, it's not like the U.S.
Right. And even here, a lot of women don't report. There's a lot of stuff that never gets reported here. But you got to figure over there, it's like I said, it's probably 10, 20 times that. So, like you said, to bring these ladies from their villages all the way, some of them had to travel like a day and a half to get to the training program we were going to do.
Yeah. I think the question that we had once we made the decision that we were not going to go to Ethiopia, first of all, you were going to be going to Ethiopia in partnership with Gospel Outreach Canada. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so you were going to be training Gospel Outreach Bible worker wives in Ethiopia through Go Canada.
Yes.
And so once we decided we weren't going to go, the question is, okay, what can we do with the money that has been given to move the mission forward? We can't be in Ethiopia, but what can we do to move that mission forward? And so we came up with an idea, and I think it was a really great one, and that's what we've been working on over the past couple of days.
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't just the money, it was the time. We had our docs and nurses had spent just hundreds of hours putting the programs together, the training program that we were going to do in Ethiopia. And so we put all this time and all this effort, because when you're going to go do a week worth of training, you put a lot of time into thinking about this and memorizing and putting things together to do a training program. Those of you that are teachers know what it would be like to do this, just all of a sudden do this training program that you've never done before. For them. Now, Ultimate Mission has done it before, but what we do is, we normally end up with different docs and nurses every time because we can't get, healthcare professionals are very busy people, and so we can't always get them, the same ones, to go every time. So we're always getting new ones, and what we've done is try to set up a template so that we have a basic foundation of PowerPoints and examples of what our 35 classes are, because that's what it is for the initial, what we call it the initial training is 35 classes. We do 5 days of 7-hour classes a day. And so we have a basic template for that. But still, these teachers, they have to put together this stuff. So they've done all this work. We put all this money into it. So what are we going to do? So we came up here. Aaron and I had an idea to come up here, and we videotaped our training. And it isn't the same as if you were training people, but we got 15, 20, 22-minute videos of an overview of the training program, but we also have the PowerPoints that we put together. So what the idea is that we'll put these up on YouTube. And in YouTube, you can get closed captioned in a lot of the languages that we're working in. So we're working in Telugu and Hindi and the Filipino language, Tagalog, and then Amharic, and then there's a couple other languages in Ethiopia. I don't remember the names of them. We may not be able to get, but all those 4 languages will close caption across the bottom of a YouTube video.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm really curious about the PowerPoints because you haven't given an update on Ultimate Mission on the podcast in a while. And so what does training look like for Ultimate Mission now with the PowerPoints versus before? I know that you would take docs over, nurses over to these other countries, and they would come up with their own presentation, right?
Right, yes.
So how is it different now?
Well, so we would basically give these medical professionals saying, okay, we want to do a training on this, and this, and they would come up with their own curriculum for that training. But we started realizing that, as great as all these people are, we needed to standardize our program. So what we did is we got a group of docs and nurses together, and we put these PowerPoints together. So now we have a standard training program for a basic, basic first training program when we go to any of these areas. Now, of course, there is training that we do that for the ladies that have been there for a while. We have these extended training programs on breast cancer, on, pre-birth, on different things. But we need this basic training, we should call it. We need this basic training program, and so that's what we developed with these PowerPoints. And now we can bring a doc or a nurse in, and we can say, here is the PowerPoint. You can tweak it a little if you want, but this is the basic thing that we want you to teach for this class. And it makes it easier for them too.
So having a standardized curriculum is just going to really help in moving this mission forward.
Well, the other thing I believe that it helps is so one of the first things we do when we go to a new area is we hire a medical professional in that area to oversee the program. And so, for instance, in Ethiopia, we hired Teriku, which is an amazing registered nurse, and he's just doing phenomenal over there. Matter of fact, we didn't go to Ethiopia, but we brought the other thing we started doing is doing a pre-training. So we brought them in for a 3-day pre-training program before we got there. So in the past, what we would do is bring docs and nurses over, and we would do a 5-day training, and we would feed these women with a fire hose. I mean, these ladies were just fresh off the boat, right? They come in and we just shoot them with the fire hose with all this incredible information these people came up with. And then we'd expect them to go back and remember this and go to work. Well, we started realizing this was a bit much. And so now we're bringing them in for a 3-day pre-training. We're familiarizing them with their equipment, the blood pressure cuff, stethoscope, and all this other stuff we give them. And we give them their books. So they're able to study for a month or so before we get there. And then we bring our medical professionals from the U.S. in, and these ladies already have a foundation. And so this is what we did in Ethiopia, thankfully, because then war broke out in this area. The roads are closed down, and we can't bring them in for the training. We can't go for the training, but guess what? We still have 12 women, and we put them to work. So we went ahead with the pre-training that they had. We haven't given them their equipment yet, but it doesn't take equipment, and it doesn't take a lot of training to be able to tell a mother that she should breastfeed for the first 6 months exclusively.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a lot of training to tell parents that their children need to wash their hands and drink clean water, that they need to eat a diet that has more fruits, nuts, and vegetables. I mean, so there's a lot of things more with first aid, with a lot of the subjects that we teach that we can give them that will help their communities. But really, you can cut infant mortality in half if you can get kids to drink clean water and wash their hands. So we can still do an awful lot with what we've got. So we just went ahead and put them to work. And the other thing is, you learn on the job.
Yeah.
They've got their books. They have a way to connect with their medical supervisor to ask questions, and they're working, and they're it's amazing. We do what we can.
I have a question for you that I've never thought to ask you, and that is, as the president of Ultimate Mission, how do you figure out what the need is in a specific country, region, area that you're going into? Because I know in India, something that we run into a lot is strokes, right?
Yes.
And people being sick and dying from lack of clean water. And so that's a really big thing, specifically in India. But going into a new country like Ethiopia, did you look into what some of the issues are in Ethiopia before planning on traveling there? Or do you go there and then ask the community and figure out what the specific difficulties are in that country?
Well, I would say yes and yes. So I spend a lot of time on the internet looking at the different things from the World Health Organization, from that country itself. One of the things that a problem Ethiopia had that we addressed in our training program that I learned from just asking questions and from the internet was female genital mutilation. So there's something we don't deal with in India, or we don't deal with that in the Philippines. But I because of the research I was doing, I realized, wow, this is a huge problem here, and this is something we need to address in our training. And so, a lot of these third world countries have very similar problems: water, lack of nutrition, malnutrition, hygiene, a lot of the same stuff. But, for instance, the Philippines, a big problem they have is they don't have, the women aren't breastfeeding like they should. And it's a huge problem there. And the reason it is in the Philippines is because they have these formula companies, and these formula companies will give out free formula to new mothers, which is against every world standard. It's just they shouldn't be doing this. So they give out this free formula, and the new mothers are using the free formula, and their milk dries up, and now they're stuck with formula. That's all they can do. And so, we learned that about the Philippines. So breastfeeding is a huge thing that we deal with in the Philippines. So, and you talk about stroke in India, and that's something I figured out from going into the villages. And I couldn't believe how long it took me to figure that out. I watched these people that were paralyzed, and I'd go into these villages, and they had paralyzed people all over the place. And it's like, why are these people paralyzed? And I started asking questions after a couple of years. It took me a couple of years to figure this out. And it's like, okay, how long does it take you to get to the doctor once you realize that you had a stroke? And it was like, you're supposed to get to the doctor within 2 hours, right? After having a stroke. These people are telling me 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months. And so all of a sudden we realize, okay, a big thing we need to do is do a training on how to recognize when somebody's having a stroke. And we have some really good stories of those people being recognized. So it's a lot of questions, and I try to connect with as many people as I can that have been to the country and ask them questions. And it's just amazing. People are willing to give you information. I had a lady call me the other night. I don't even know how she got my number. And I asked her how she got my number, and she had told me a name that I didn't know. And she called me and talked to me for about an hour, and she had lived in Ethiopia. And so she was an 80-some-odd-year-old lady, and she just wanted to tell me everything she knew about Ethiopia. So that kind of stuff is just, it's solid gold to me, especially if I haven't been to the country. But even if I had, I mean, you can't, I mean, I don't need to know everything there is about America, and I've lived here all my life.
Yeah. The strokes, that was surprising to me as well. And you ask these people, oh, so this person had a stroke. Well, when did you take them to the doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they're like, oh, well, we never took them to the doctor.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no kidding. They're paralyzed.
Right.
It's simple information that just has to be given to these people. So education is just huge in these countries, just simple education. And that's what Ultimate Mission is all about. It's training these health workers to educate people. Right. I mean, the health workers are not doctors going into the community and prescribing things, right?
Right. Yeah.
They are out there trying to help people with their health. Preventative is our job, right?
Yeah.
Right. Preventatives is our job, and also helping people recognize when there is a problem and when they need to go to the doctor.
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm not trying to ask you too many questions.
No,
but
that's okay.
I have so many. I have all these questions for you, and one of the questions is, some of the listeners may not know this, but Ultimate Mission has an app that has been created for the women. It's like a web app that has been created for health workers so that the women can be held accountable through what they are doing. This is a problem that a lot of organizations run into, is how do we make sure that these women not only are being held accountable, but also they are staying motivated in what they are doing? How do we do that? And the answer is the app. What's the name of that app again?
Mission Connect.
Mission Connect. Okay, so you have Mission Connect. These women can actually go on and they can answer certain questions on the app.
There's 17 questions, yeah.
Okay, 17 questions. They can upload photos and then they can shoot it to you, and it's in their language, but when it gets to you, it's in English.
Right. Yeah. So this has been very, very handy for us, and like you say, it's a good way. I mean, these people, these women, they're wonderful. But there's nobody looking over their shoulder, right? There's nobody seeing that are you getting up and doing your job today? Are you visiting today? Nobody knows. You could just be collecting the stipends. And so we had to have a way for accountability, especially when you start getting more and more people working for you. You're going to get some that, aren't doing what they should be doing. I mean, it's just human nature.
Everyone has to be held accountable. I mean, the employee is held accountable by the employer, right? And the small business owner is held accountable by all of the people that they're doing work for. I mean, there's accountability. Everybody's got to be held accountable. So this app has really helped with that specifically.
No,
so
absolutely.
That's really exciting. And you guys have had that app for what, a year and a half now, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years, and we have donated the app to Gospel Outreach. So we developed the app, and then Gospel Outreach is starting to put it online for their workers as well. So I'm kind of proud of that. That's
something to be proud of.
Yeah,
that's something to be proud
neat.
of.
So and it's just great to have the partnership that we have with Gospel Outreach, that we can do that kind of stuff, and they do so much for us. So it just works both ways. I mean, we're in the Gospel Outreach studio, and we started talking about, we came here, we were doing the videos, so we can't go to Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So what we did is we put together these videos, and we're going to put them on YouTube. So and so Ultimate Mission is doing a little bit of a experiment with YouTube. Mm-hmm. We aren't able to go out, as you know. There's not been camp meetings, and the churches have been hit and miss, and usually the way that we've been able to let people know what we're doing and to get more partners in what we're doing is to go to churches and camp meetings and different events like that, where we can connect with people, we can tell them, and we can meet them and talk to them and show them what we're doing. But we haven't been able to do that for the last year and a half. So we're doing a thing on YouTube, and we're putting out videos, and this is going to be one of the things. And there's medical missionary work that needs to be done overseas, but there's a lot of stuff we can do right here, because what medical missionary work does is it helps you make a connection with somebody. It helps you to build a relationship. You're doing something for somebody in which you're not expecting anything back. Right? This is just out of love. And you're not doing it so that you can get Bible studies. You're not doing it so you can baptize people, right? When you do medical missionary work, it better be for one thing and one thing only, and that's love. And that's because you care about people. If you're doing it for any other reason, people are going to read right through it. You're not going to be effective. It's not going to work. So you got to do it for one reason, and that's because you love people and you want to connect with them. And so I'm hoping that a lot of these videos will help people here in the United States and in Canada or Europe or, some of the Western countries that don't have these horrible diseases going on all the time. But we know, even with the coronavirus that we're dealing with, that if we are as healthy as possible, it's going to make a huge difference in whether or not we could survive if we get the coronavirus or even get it at all. So, yeah.
If there's people out there who are thinking, you're going over to these foreign countries, these third world countries, and you're helping people, but there's people that need to be helped right here. Well, there may be some people out there who have no idea. Ultimate Mission is so much more than just overseas third world countries. Ultimate Mission is doing work here in the United States, and that's how you started, was doing work here in the United States. And you've created a lot of different resources. You have the neighborhood connections,
right?
You've got neighborhood connections, and that's huge. Another thing that you've done is you have now planted a church that has been up and going for officially 6 months.
Yeah, well, officially since September. So
not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
Unofficially, we've been going for quite a while, because when coronavirus shut down all the churches, our core group started meeting together. But then we in September, September 11th. We picked that date because who could forget that one? So we started September 11th and on Sabbath, and we're now in a building in an Elks Club. So we've got a building that we have room for 225 people, and right now there's 15, 20 of us that meet there every Sabbath. But we have such a wonderful time there. And it's so amazing being able to start a church. And the people that are coming to this church, Aaron, they're people that weren't really going to church before. Some of them were Adventists that just weren't really, they quit going to church, right? And then we have a lot of non-Adventists. We have one couple that's come to this church that the man started looking on the internet, and because he had studied the Bible and realized that the seventh day was the Sabbath. And he started thinking, okay, well, who worships on Saturday? And so he's searching the internet for Saturday church. And you and I have done a lot of work to try to get our church up on the internet, right? So people are searching in the SEOs for search engine optimization for Google. We've been doing some work to get us up there. Right. And what was funny is he lived in Canby, which is, a couple cities over, which there's a few churches closer to him. And he says, we were looking, we had a hard time finding an Adventist church or church that on Saturday, and they found our little church because we'd been doing search engine optimization.
Wow.
So all these churches that have been there for years that were closer to them, they couldn't find, so they ended up with us. And they really like the format that we're doing. So we're doing something that is different, right? We have some very good music, and we don't have a sermon. So it's kind of how you would picture how the churches started, in the apostolic days, right? They just met in homes or small buildings, and they would get together and they would sit down and they would read the Bible, and they would discuss what that meant in their life. And that's what we're doing. And so we're having a good time with that. And you talked about the neighborhood connection. So this is to prepare for disasters. And we developed a book. We used the Modi Drop, which is the water purification tablet we used in India by the thousands. And we put that in the book. And I tell you what, Aaron, that is the best outreach I've ever done. I've just done 2 of them recently. The last time I did it at a home with 27 people. Right? 27 people came to this, and just neighbors, meeting neighbors and connecting with neighbors. And a lot of these neighbors had never met each other before, but they're meeting each other for the first time. And what an incredible outreach that is. And people are so happy to do it. It isn't like, and so what I find is 50% of the people that are invited come to this. Now you tell me what religious program you've ever been a part of that 50% of the people you invite come to. It's unheard of.
It gives you a reason to connect with your neighbors.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you can plant that seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ultimate Mission, I just wanted to do this podcast this morning since we were here at Gospel Outreach. Ultimate Mission is still moving forward. Aaron and I are still doing everything we can. I so much appreciate Aaron and having this partnership that we've had over the years. Yeah. And you and I mean, we feel like partners. I feel we are just working together, trying to spread the kingdom of God. And I just want to let you know that Ultimate Mission has never stopped. No matter where we were with the pandemic, no matter what happened with civil wars, if we get blocked on one door, guess what? We can't go to Ethiopia. All right, we're going to go make videos. We're going to send those videos to Ethiopia. If we can get to India, we're going to go to India. If we can't get to India, we'll figure out another way. We put 94 women to work last year. We couldn't go to India, but we have 94 new women working in India last year. So God allows us to continue this work and expand this work and maybe even expand it better than we could have before, even with all the difficulties that is happening. So if you've been a partner or supporter of Ultimate Mission, boy, I really appreciate what you've done. And because of you, we're continuing to move forward with your encouragement, your prayers, and your support. We are not going to stop until Jesus comes.
Yeah, and I've appreciated you, Jim, and this partnership, and yeah. Let's keep moving forward.
Let's keep moving forward.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you've lasted this long in this podcast, because this one went longer than normal, I have a feeling I forgot to set a timer up.
Well, we're at about 32 minutes. I hope I didn't ask too many questions.
No.
I appreciate you having me on the Christian Life Empowerment podcast, and I have so many questions for you. So.
Oh no, we'll have to do it again. But this was fun. And so hey, if you appreciated what you watched, hit the subscribe button and go check out the podcast we've done before. Check out the Christian Life Empowerment YouTube channel. Like, share. Anytime you help us out on YouTube or Facebook or anytime you are able to take an email and share it with somebody else, that's missionary work. It is. If you believe in what we're doing and you tell somebody else about what we're doing, you're being a missionary. Because that's how we expand. We cannot do this work without you. We can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, if one person shares this with 5 of their friends and just one of those friends is somewhat interested in what we're doing here and shares it, and it just spreads, right? Like wildfire. So don't feel like it's insignificant to share this with your friends if you believe in what we're doing here. And yeah.
I mean, if you don't believe what we're doing, hey, don't worry about it. But but if what we're doing, helping people that are in their own countries to do the work, if what we're doing with training people to fish makes sense to you, then help us get this message out, because there's a lot still left to do.
Yeah.
A lot to do. All right. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And any parting words, Aaron?
Oh, just thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been fun. All right. God bless. See you later. Bye.